Thanks for joining us today at our broadcast for Elasticon Global. And we're going to talk today about enabling real-time insights at scale to solve problems for telco. My name is Rick Fernandez, and I am a product marketing director for the telco vertical for Elastic. I've been in here about 2.5 years, supported originally the partners, and now I'm focusing on telco vertical and go-to-market.
Hey, Rick, and I'm Charlie Hale. I'm a senior solutions architect here at Elastic, and I've been working with telephone companies or for telephone companies for about 20 years, actually.
Awesome. And so what we're going to do today is discuss a few things that we've been really uncovering. Challenges that face telcos, that prepping them for the 5G service enablement they're going to be doing here soon, if not currently. And let's get started. Charlie, we've been working with the vertical and value team, and you've been a part of that for researching telco trends, especially the mega trends, and that are taking advantage of 5G services.
So what'd you find?
We found historically that telecommunications companies don't capitalize on intellectual property. And fundamentally, this is a change in how they deliver services. And so it's going to be an interesting conversation for sure. Let's get started. And so before we jump in, I'd like to put some context around where we're at so that we can sort of frame up where we're going to go. I think of where we're at today as being, a always on, always connected consumer and when I look at this, I see a cell phone, but we all think of something when we think about telecommunications.
Yeah, we live our lives off these computers that we still call cell phones today, right? And it's generating so much data every second because every application that you run is capturing information about you. Think about the messaging services, think about your content delivery services and your social media. Every bit of that is generating data about you.
Yeah, and if you look over the last several decades, it's been changing the way that we actually live. I mean, to say that data growth is exponential is actually an understatement. I mean, think about society today and how we generate and consume more and more data over and over and over. It's growing.
Yeah, exactly. And with 5G, and the technology opportunities that telecommunications providers have now, the opportunities expand even further, right? But there's no need to feel overwhelmed by this, right? If you think about the smarter technologies, the Internet of Things, and the data explosion is even bigger. But there's a big opportunity here to improve your business and also improve your operations and really ultimately improve our lives.
That's exactly right. So let's dive in. As we start looking at I'm gonna call it the traditional telecommunications company, I immediately go to ISDN, DSL, frame relay. I go back a long way, my age. And what comes to your mind, Charlie, when you think of that telecommunications provider?
Absolutely the same thing. And there's a stigma with CSPs, right? That traditional telecommunications of being a data pipe provider. Right? The term dumb bit pipe comes to mind.
I love tech. I love tech companies. I invest a lot in tech companies, but I don't invest a lot in telecommunications companies because most of the time, the people who ride on top of those telecommunications companies are actually making more profit and actually generating more revenue.
Yeah, Rick. And as a matter of fact, the term over-the-top providers, right? Those data applications you have on your phone are eroding the telco revenue. If you think about the messaging services we talked about a minute ago, SMS used to be something you paid for on your telephone bill. Now it's just an app on your phone.
And it's much cheaper just to run something on top of a network than to have to build it for sure.
Absolutely.
And so, I was just attending the MWC 21, listening to some of the telco execs, and they were speaking about service orchestration and service orchestration layers and building out this large API to sort of change the way they strategically go to market today. What do you think about that?
Yeah, the telcoms and CSPs, as they reimagine themselves to take advantage of these new 5G enabled services, but they also have to include a path to support those legacy services, right? The monolithic applications that were supporting those. And you can't just jump from those old worlds into making those complicated new services work. So think about all the things that the telco still has to support, right? Besides even the most recent stuff, actually, but besides fixed line, 4G and LTE, those services are recent, but they're still legacy compared to 5G. So there's this whole complicated ecosystem that telcos have to deal with now.
Well, and then everything was built very specified, right? It was a single purpose for that specific type of equipment. Right. So now that we're trying to interconnect these ecosystems, you have to have that software orchestration layer, right? Enabling those APIs so that you can have multi-cloud, multi-partner orchestration across your entire ecosystem. So when we're looking at this telco as a service, as we're going to phrase it, or platform as a service for CSPs, this is a chance for them to sort of reposition themselves, not only as, hey, I'm going to be not just innovative, but I'm going to not be a commoditized data pipe provider.
Yeah, and this is fundamentally a different business for the traditional telecom. If you notice on our slide, we have this crack in the screen dividing the two, right? Because there's a gap between what they are today and what they want to be tomorrow, right?
Yeah, correct. And then the CSP will actually have to continue efforts to maintain their costs on their current solutions, right? And their current services as they're deploying all these new services and taking advantage of these emerging opportunities.
Yeah, and customer expectations continue to rise. CSPs have to dramatically increase their ability to deliver personalized services to their customers and exceptional beyond personalized, right?
Right. And then part of that exceptional service is going to be, hey, is it secure? Is it stable? Is it resilient? You know, it's a lot of data being transmitted. The complex networks now are being flattened and leveled, and then now we're adding compute to the edge. It's going to complicate things a little bit more.
Exactly. And as they enable all these additional services, they're going to have to become skilled at identifying and even monetizing the opportunities around the hidden insights and the massive amount of data that they're collecting, right?
Correct. Yeah, and the fully orchestrating this multi-cloud environment is going to be a task, an undertaking. Being able to actually have an orchestration ecosystem that says from partner to partner to partner to consumer, I can then provision through all of these partners with SLAs all the way through with a click of a button versus having to actually manually go provision all these services. So now we're going to focus on the gap, the chasm that you saw, that giant crack in that slide, right? It wasn't quite to scale, but we'll try to work on that for future improvements. But when we're thinking about bridging that gap, we want to talk about a few things. What would you think the first one would be?
Yeah, you know, as we get into those, I just wanted to mention this quote, right, from Rick Riobli at the CIO at Comcast. It's so true. And if you look at it talking about the data services, the important thing that I love in it is it says putting digital lipstick on digital services.
Yeah, we have a different saying for that in the South. It's like putting lipstick on a pig is our saying, but we'll go ahead and leave it at that. But, you know, I think he's saying data's king.
Yeah, not quite, actually. It's optimized data that we're looking for, right? Optimized data is about being able to find those insights.
Yeah, that's a perfect segue to, I guess, our next section, which is, you know, this is the first of 4 areas that we want to discuss. One is operational excellence. And Charlie, when you think about telco challenges, and I start, you know, thinking about all the challenges that they face, what's the biggest one that comes to mind when you think of them?
You know, absolutely. The kind of the biggest one, and it is paired with another one, is data silos. If you look across the telco, data is scattered all over the place in different, even organizations within the bigger company. And clean data is also a problem, being able to get insights into that data. So in telcos, there's no real data optimization. There's no like unified taxonomy or a data strategy so that you can monetize it. And they have limited search across all the different data tiers at the same time. And there's really no unified role or attribute-based views so that you can control who's seeing what in that environment.
Well, you know, I think that we can solve the problem that's listed here, right? I mean, having the right data at the right time to make the right decision. I think that's what we're going for.
Absolutely. And the next one, customer experience is really important. I mentioned earlier, customers don't really care who serves them, right? They are going to judge who's best, and they're going to judge those telco experiences against the best experiences that they can get from anywhere.
That's right.
In fact, 49% of customers expect specialized treatment for being a good customer. And switching providers is simple these days, right? Which leads us to churn. That's
a big topic, and we've got even a demo on it, so stay tuned. But the next topic that we're going to talk about is breach and risk reduction. That's one of my favorite topics. It's a challenge for telcos as we start, you know, moving into this new phase of 5G, telco leaders think that vulnerabilities to cyber attacks are going to cause problems offering these new services. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then another important fact, and you mentioned this earlier, is actually that monetizing the data and then doing data analytics or AI even on it. The final important point, 89% of enterprise decision makers agree scaling AI actually leads to competitive differentiation. So AI and automation and integrations are reducing capital expenditures, they're improving time to market, they're optimizing network performances, they're actually predicting churn, mean time to failure, building new revenue streams. I mean, there's just goes on and on and on.
That's right, Rick. And monetizing siloed data is extremely difficult, right? And it's expensive with legacy tools. That's why you need a unified platform for your service provider. So you can search across all your data tiers instantly. And of course, the telco is not selling the data. When I say monetize, I don't mean selling the data, but they need to use that information to make better decisions, both for operations and the services they're offering to you as a customer.
Well, and that's a good point, Charlie. So data analytics and monetization. So monetization could be automation, right? I'm going to build efficiencies and build better efficiencies into the operational efficiencies of whatever we're doing, right? So monetization might be we're getting smarter, faster, quicker time to market, those things.
So Rick, does your data help you make faster and better decisions?
Well, I guess that would depend, right? Depends on what your role is. I'll give you a couple scenarios where I think that we could definitely help make quick decisions. Like for instance, if you're a call center and you're wanting to get inserted into a quick view of the last 3 calls that you've had with that customer, the hardware and software that they're on, maybe promotions that are upgrades that they have for their devices. Maybe it's you want to get hardware failure predictions or capacity planning done, or that AI and automation factory just churning out better processes and quicker time to market. All of that makes you smarter and faster.
So now's a great time to talk about how the Elastic community of users have been adopting and developing use cases for Elasticsearch for years. We can map out those to our out-of-the-box solutions that we have, Elastic Enterprise Search, Observability, and Security.
That's right. And then you think about, we can still answer every question, right? We're extensible. We can scale, we can be customized to realize and be flexible to make every custom change that you need for your business, system integrations that you need to prevent vendor lock-in. And I know, Charlie, we've had many conversations about how they get locked in to proprietary software from 1G to 5G or the core, and they have to be able to pivot between that and being out of vendor lock-in so they can take advantage of the data. So as we continue, Charlie, you were right earlier. Additionally, customers can also consolidate all this, right? They unify with a unified platform. They remove all that complexity that you mentioned, and then simplifying that achieves a bigger ROI.
Yeah, a big piece of that is simplifying, in particular, the ingest of all those different data sources across the different silos within the organization to an integration layer. And once that data is enriched, it can be, or once that data is in, it can be enriched, normalized, correlated, and you can take that data and present it to the lines of business. But don't take our words for it. Forrester did a study where they compared 4 global companies of over 50,000 employees each and found approximately 10 times faster results and 358% ROI.
That's pretty impressive, Charlie, but the multi-year ROI even looks better. But I'll take this session, second to do an advertisement for Ben Pruden's session with the Forrester Total Economic Impact Study. So we're gonna move on and you can attend that session. Now, once we're going to move next into like the enterprise search component where we're solving challenges around like personalization or knowledge management or customer experiences for like, or even efficiencies around call center or call center support, workplace search, where you're searching all of your data with one UI, or maybe it's an application search similar to the next customer that we have.
Yeah, so T-Mobile has Elastic powering their app, right? So when you open up your phone for the T-Mobile app, there's Elasticsearch behind that. And since they've deployed it, they're customer ratings have skyrocketed. And at the same time, it's a marketing bonanza for the line of business.
Awesome.
In fact, over 1,800 data points are collected through Elasticsearch with the T-Mobile app. And I'm also a customer, so I get to use this on a regular basis.
Awesome. Well, I'm not a T-Mobile customer. They don't work as well in the country, which I don't know if you can tell, but my accent sort of gives that away.
So within Elastic Observability, which is our next category, this is very near to my heart from past experience. I mentioned my 20 years working with and for telcos. I've been in operations. So this is where we focus on helping customers achieve operational excellence. And it's not just about comprehensive monitoring, but it's also managing the operational data, thinking about bringing all those things together like service quality assurance, performance management, fault management. You need that unified approach so you can build a center of excellence around that data maturity model.
And when you think about all of the components that we're building here, this industrialized AI factory and automation factory for AI ops and driving, AI and ML through your service management teams and building these intelligent networks and intelligent apps that can, self-correct or become more resilient and adaptive. All of that is all great. And we want to make sure that we're able to do that for all of our customers. And this next customer is taking advantage of that. They built an experience across all their membership lifecycle to improve customer streaming experiences. But I don't know that I need to introduce the company. It's sort of small, only 209 million members with 190 countries.
So Rick, how did they execute this across 209 million members across 190 countries? This is crazy.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you a question. To answer that question is do you read the book from back to front or front to back?
I like to read the book jackets. I'll admit it. I like to cheat a little bit.
I am too. So let's go to elastic.co, get them to read customers and pick up Netflix. I want them to get familiar with pulling these customers up. So we're going to give them some homework.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, Charlie, by my, this next, I enjoy this next story. It's not a name that I recognize as much, but they took out a name that I really enjoy, which they migrated everything from Splunk. Intel, they have the ability to now, for the first time, have real-time executive dashboards with business and operational metrics. Not only that, all of these, the business was able to take advantage of all of the help that they got to now leverage and control their customer experience. And they added 1.27 million prepaid mobile customers based on the work that they did. So it's very impressive numbers.
That is impressive. I like the results column too. 80% reduction in MTTR. That's huge in operations. That's around multinational observability. And then also 95% visibility across company operations. That allows their command center to have 24/7 access to critical services.
Yeah, that's a big deal. And then now we want to move into an area that I'm definitely, as I mentioned earlier, passionate about, which is the security component, right? We got pre-built detection rules, machine learning rules, anomaly detection rules, even some data frames that we built for you. But the big thing is, in case that's not enough, right? We have fraud detection, transaction analytics. You can do limited XDR, real-time threat, and we eliminate silos, right? Which is one thing that we've been talking about. No more silos for your security teams. All of this built on one platform, one visibility, one unified view into all your data.
So this next customer, Rick, I don't think we need to introduce them either. It's pretty much a household name.
It's a household name, but not necessarily for telco, but they are retail space. Brick and mortar.
I thought you were gonna say something like Walmart's not a telco. With the retail storefront, though, you're right. With the retail storefront, they are very applicable to telcos, right? If you think about all the storefronts that they have to have in order to give their customers their cell phones. In Walmart, they have a global investigations department, and it's one of the few departments that needs to have really fast access to pushing data into production, right? They have millions of customers and millions of customer dollars that have been protected by Elastic when they use it to detect frauds and costs. And that helps money for everyone, both Walmart and the customers. Think about use cases like gift cards and things like that, right?
Yeah, and then, this last customer on here that we'll mention is really focused. This focus, Orange Telecommunications, is basically around 26 small company, 26 countries, 253 million customers, 147,000 employees. It's a tiny little company, right?
Yeah.
They wanted, their big thing was speed, simplicity, data integration, and I want to visualize everything, right?
Yeah, and if you notice the results, right, they improved their SOC investigation abilities by saving time for each investigation using the Elastic tool. They have better data correlation, so you can identify the suspicious activities and more quickly take action on those. And our detection rules that you mentioned earlier are based on are aligned with the MITRE ATT&CK framework. And then with this, they have a greater degree of control over the ingestion of all their security logs.
And that's a really big deal, especially when you talk about new services, especially when we're thinking about Internet of Things, right? And we've got to now run AI across all the data coming in from all the 5G Internet of Things across all of the businesses. Now they're able to harness all that data and do it in real time. Really great story. I guess our last set of challenges are built around the full capacity of the capabilities of the Elastic platform. And Charlie, if our attendees are watching and maybe we didn't mention their use case today, what can you say to them?
Rick, the great thing about Elastic is that it's extensible to solve any problems, right? We can solve any of the problems with this platform. We'll allow our customers to make data-driven decisions to drive innovation and efficiencies across their organizations so they can make faster and smarter decisions, right? That directly impact revenue and profit.
Awesome. And then, you know, this customer, BAI, the challenge that they faced, they shared with many customers, is they lacked real-time metrics to prove the value of advertising or our customer experience. Manual reporting, static spreadsheets for Wi-Fi usage. I don't know how many times I've taken 5 different reports, put them into an Excel spreadsheet, and then ran a manual pivot table across them. That's no more.
Yeah, and BAI not only improved their performance, but they monetized the data to drive revenue. And this is across 500,000 Wi-Fi sessions daily. Not to mention they started with version 6 of our stack.
Yeah, and they've come a long way now with especially the launch of 7.15, right?
Yep. So Rick, that's a great segue for our demo use case. We're talking about operational excellence and revenue optimization. The use case that we're talking about here for the demo is that we have the context of the demo is that we have an acquisition cost for bringing on new customers, right? This includes deals on minutes, free phones, advertising costs, and sometimes even a contract buyout. So imagine your CFO walking into the room with a question: why is our customer churn at 27%? This is the exact story. Ben, the CFO, is requesting his leadership to a meeting where he introduces Piotr and Luca. So Piotr is responsible for service quality assurance, performance, and fault management. And then Luca, his organization, is responsible for handling customer care, call center support, billing, and business analysis. Ben reiterated that we are in our planning cycle, and we got this data from last quarter, and the churn was up to 27%. The industry average is 22%. And I need to see this in real time so we can determine the factors that are causing churns. Additionally, we need to be able to predict who will churn by the characteristics of those customers who previously churned. Can we do this? How long? How much will it take to do this? So with that challenge from the CFO, they put together this proof of concept. So here we have the customer data that was at one point across many different data silos combined into one platform, right? This unified platform for a service provider so that Ben, the CFO, can get a view that's interesting to him on why customers are churning or may churn, right? We're going to help you predict churn. What we did is we brought the data in based on customers that had churned and trained a data model with machine learning to predict the customers that may churn. And across the top, you can see revenue related numbers that are directly of interest to Ben. You can see the number of customers, the cost per customers. And what's really important on this screen is in the middle are the key features on that data set that are driving customer churn. So after we train the model, what you can see here is the call minutes and the customer support contacts are the two biggest factors in driving churn. If you scroll through, we've broken it up a couple of different ways. So you can see that trained data set, which customers have churned and which haven't. You can see those customer support contacts, the contract types. You can see their call minute distribution on this chart and the different plan types. But what's interesting right here in the middle is that customer churn. And one of the things you can do is you can filter down on that data. And because it's based on a search-based platform, every other widget on this screen was updated at the same time. So now you can see those same scatter plots across the bottom, which actually show tenure versus monthly charges. You can see the pattern that's forming there is short tenured customers with high monthly charges. The call minutes and the support calls go up across the line. And then this scatter plot with age, I don't see as much correlation, but this is what Ben is asking for. How can I predict churn? A couple of things that percolate up to the top that are really interesting. Look at this, contract types. 95% of the customers who were predicted to churn are on month-to-month contracts. And down at the bottom, I have a list of customers with the customer ID associated with that. So if I wanted to give that to marketing to drive some marketing campaigns that may help reduce churn, what I could do is, again, apply one more filter to say, I only want to see customers that are 60% or higher predicted probability to churn. And then I can take this list at the bottom and export it out and send that over.
Or
of course, I'm showing,
yeah.
so I can show you, I'm showing you manually, but all this can be driven through API, exactly. One other thing, because Piotr and Luca were overachievers, they built an operational centric dashboard as well. How is operations affecting churn? And in this view, we're bringing in customer data as well as network data around the radio network itself, showing handovers. And you can see from a high level view, are my customers likely to churn? You can see there's a small percentage right here, but for the most part, it looks like the handover outcomes are completely successful. The handover duration is pretty average, and the prediction model is distributed here. I have my customers at the bottom. But one thing that's great, again, in Elastic, you can filter down on the data. If I draw some bounds around what is highlighted in the visualization as a hotspot, I can get a better view of what's going on in that spot. And actually, look at this, the percentage that were predicted to churn is much higher. It's actually all LTE, which is interesting from an operational perspective. Not really phone related, but technology for sure. And as those handovers rejections occur, you can see the duration is increasing as well. And in fact, there's two cell sites that stick out in my heat map here above and beyond the rest of them. So from an operational perspective, I'm able to see what's going on and make some recommendations to operations. And similar to my last chart, if I want to say only customers that are highly likely to churn, I can filter those down and take the same list. Again, this could be API driven, or I can export out the data. So in this view, I've taken multiple silos of data, fault data, performance data, radio network data, customer relationship data, brought it together and shown Ben, our CFO, in terms that he can understand how churn is being affected by our network and by customer profiles. And back to you, Rick.
Thanks, Charlie. We want to appreciate and thank everybody for attending today, and we look forward to future interactions. Thank you.